Jen. How are you?
Hi, Lamiski. I'm good. How are you?
I am great. Thanks for joining me today. I am excited to talk about all things manifesting with you and hearing some stories or hearing how you got started and all that stuff. I want to welcome everybody to the Rehab My Soul podcast. I'm here with Adamson, and we are going to talk manifesting today. So, I know, get in the vibe, right?
Getting those high vibes. Oh, yeah.
Exactly. Got our ground clearing and protection up. We're good to go. All
And
right.
I know,
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I know you and I both did that before today.
Yep, we both did. We are in there. We are in our um my protection triangle and all that stuff. So yes. So I want to know how you are doing first, and then I also want to know, tell me about what you do so the audience knows like what you're into, what type of woman you are, because I already know, but I want you to let us know.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, I want to say thank you for welcoming me onto your show. This is such an honor for me. And I think that anytime that we have deep, soulful, spiritual, going deep and healing and working through the wounds and our belief systems to be of our highest purpose and also of the highest purpose and service to the world is where magic happens. So
Yes.
I'm grateful for this opportunity. And yeah, I'm great too. I'm doing wonderful. It's sunny in Colorado. It's like one of the first warm days we've had in a really long time. So I'm going to go play outside after this, but I'm doing great. And I'm Jenn Adamson. I'm a mindset and manifestation coach. And I love helping women, specifically single moms and single women, manifest things like love and abundance with ease. Because much of my story starts with me manifesting things at a very fast rate. So my story, I'll take you back about 15 years ago when I was climbing the corporate ladder. I was hitting all of the success benchmarks, the outwardly notion of what success was, is what I decided to blindly adopt for my own navigation system. And, I found myself climbing this corporate ladder and actually really with a lot of intention though. I remember one time I just shared this story recently with a friend of mine, is that I get some of my deepest thoughts in the shower, and I was washing my hair and I said, I'm going to manifest this really prestigious award. It's going to happen. And then not 2 days later, my colleague called me and said, hey, I'm going to nominate you for this award. And I was like, there you go. So I was hitting these great benchmarks, of notable achievements, of gaining clients, to the clients and the companies that I served, of receiving the promotions, receiving the raises. But what I wasn't aware of at the time was that I was manifesting things quickly, but I call this entry level manifestation. I was getting really high off the success, and then I was crashing down. And what I discovered, and it wasn't for a few years down the road, is that I was addicted to this level of achievement. And I actually now I share with my clients now is that there's nothing wrong with being, high achieving. You and I both, Miski, I know we're high achieving sisters. So there's nothing wrong with that. But where we start to really truly manifest things like levels of abundance and wealth that our mind can't even imagine to be possible, calling in our soulmate love. We're just operating from this baseline level consistently of this very high vibrational joy and satisfaction and true fulfillment really requires us to do some of that deeper work. And so that's what I get to teach my clients is keep your achievements, but let's start at the basics. Let's start with your foundation and then go from there. And that's kind of my story in a nutshell.
cool. Yeah. The I can relate to the outwardly probably more masculine achievements that we're taught are the thing, that's what we should be striving for, the car, the titles, the labels, the office, those outwardly things. But if you're not feeling good on the inside, man, you can't even enjoy it. Like the car doesn't feel good anymore if you're really paying attention to yourself. It can always feel good. I mean, it's a nice car, but
Yes.
if you're not really in tune with your inner self, how do you get to that next level? So, when
Yeah.
you say that you help women work on the deeper things, what are some things that come up that you've noticed?
Oh, good question. Yes, I love the juicy parts. So I love what you just shared too, because there's nothing wrong with wanting those things. There's nothing wrong with wanting the house, the promotions, the raises, the cars, the nice cars. Believe me, I love to travel and I love to travel in luxury. But where I teach people, and here's the thing, I cannot stress this enough. Like, this is the number one reason why people will, because if you manifest those things, like you manifest the car, you might, like you said, either A, you're not going to be fulfilled, like it'll bring you like a very quick hit of satisfaction and happiness, and then you're on to the next thing. And that's a vicious cycle. That's addiction right there. Or what happens, you don't end up keeping it, because so often you'll also hear women who attract, the right man into their lives, but then because they haven't done the inner work, because they haven't done that inner deep like healing and clearing out these old belief systems, the relationship doesn't last. And I can attest to that, because I've been that person. I've walked in those shoes before. So where really the juicy like lusciousness comes into is asking yourself these questions of, why is it that you want these things? Like, why is it truly, what do you truly feel is going to, like, having the car, what is that going to bring into your life? Oftentimes, you'll either find, oh wow, you know what, actually I don't want this, I want like a variation of this. Or the other idea, or the other possibility, and it could be a combination of the two, is that you find yourself saying, I want the house because I want to prove to my family that I'm worthy or I'm good enough. Or I want the promotion because I want to show my friends that I can do this. And when you really stop to analyze and evaluate the reason why, that comes from a very like controlling, grasping. It can even be a needy or even a desperate, I'm going to say even a desperate energy. And the whole basis of manifesting is cultivating these beautiful feelings in your inner world so that your outer world becomes a reflection of your inner world. So often we'll go and we'll set out to achieve these things. And then we realize, if we're honest with ourselves, oh no, actually, I do want this car to prove to someone else. We have to just reevaluate what we think it's going to bring. So here's where we shift. We shift by asking ourselves, how can this bring us joy? And it's okay if having a nice car is going to make you happy. Like, think of all the amazing experiences, what, like driving, in the mountains. I live in Colorado. Or if you have, beautiful scenery that you can drive with the top down with your friends, that then we're getting somewhere. Then we're getting somewhere.
Yeah, it
Let's
just feels
all bring it back
juicier.
to the joy. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So it's all about asking yourself the reasons why and cultivating then. So if you want to feel abundant in this promotion, what can you do now to start feeling abundant? What can you do now in this very moment to start tapping into and cultivating those feelings of abundance and joy and just, yeah, it is, it's a different vibe
Yeah.
entirely.
My body felt different even when you were explaining it, because I have my own desires for certain luxury things, right? And I've manifested luxury before, but at the time, like you said, it was kind of more entry level manifesting, and I didn't manifest the means to maintain that thing. So
Exactly.
then it's just not a complete vibrational match everywhere. It was for that moment, because I truly believe this one thing. So, how do we shift those beliefs? If we believe, first, how do we dig in there and find them?
Yeah.
But how do we shift them? Because, I mean, they're a belief, right? Like, that's
Yeah.
just what I believe.
Yeah, absolutely. I am a huge proponent in journaling and giving yourself time at least once a week, at the bare minimum, once a week, connecting with yourself. This is how we build our intuition. And I know previously we talked, Lemisky, about intuition and how you and I both agreed that our intuition is like our antenna. So, if we are all our intuition, especially as women, it is there. It is there. Now, it may be sleeping, but it's never broken.
Right.
It's absolutely never broken. So, the reason why we want to tap into our intuition is because it acts as the antenna to give us these downloads, to give us these clear thoughts and ideas to take the right next step, the inspired action, which you hear so often, especially in like mainstream manifesting right now. And that's important because what that's going to allow you to do is to connect with yourself. And so once a week, I tell this to all of my clients is at least once a week, if not a few more times, but let's start small. I'm always about keeping things simple, making it easy. We're busy ladies. We have a lot on our plates as it is. Just starting once a week, 20 minutes. Just really, I would say the biggest thing is like journal out some of those beliefs. So for example, like money is a huge topic. And how often have we grown up in our households or, going from and evaluating all the way from childhood to teenage years to young adult years to even adult years? I realized just recently that with all the healing I've done and all the growth I've done in these last 15 years, I still have some money beliefs recently that I have adopted that I just discovered a few days ago just from journaling all of my beliefs from childhood up to this present moment. And so then what you do is you bringing this awareness is so key. It's so key because how often do we operate on autopilot? We get up, we get ready for our days. We're just on autopilot. We get into our cars, we know the route. And so the same goes for our own beliefs. The same goes for the scripts that we tell ourselves.
Girl, autopilot.
Yeah.
Yes.
It can
So,
be,
go ahead. Sorry.
no, I was going to say it can be helpful or detrimental depending on what autopilot, what level we're on.
Right. Right,
Mhm.
right. Maybe survival autopilot, but let's not be in survival all
Yeah.
100% of the day. We don't, not even
Yes.
all days. But
Yes.
yeah, so journaling, I really love journaling. So I have to
Mhm.
agree with you on that. Journaling, I can sit down and think I don't have anything on my mind, but
No.
once you start writing, it just opens up, at least
It
for
does.
me, because I'm ready to open up. I'm sitting there like, okay, give it to me, tell me what I need to see. And intention, just setting that intention is so powerful. And like you said, it just, there's so much going on in there because we're accumulating as we go in this life. And it can be tucked down in there next to our sacral somewhere,
Yes.
that it comes up and you're like, oh man, that time when dad, oh my God, oh my God, I didn't realize that. So yeah, I think that journaling is a crucial part of growth on in this area of what we're trying to do. So I love your candor in that you said, like, even recently you've discovered some beliefs that were stopping you from your next level, right?
Mhm.
So I love that candor. So thank you for that. And this growth thing is a process because like they say, new levels, new devils, right?
Oh,
So
I like that.
as we're growing, my next level is not going to be your next level. My next step is not going to be your next step. So that's why our intuition is so important to tap into. So, journaling once a week, intuition, do you go or do you have any guidance for specific manifesting or more general manifesting? Like
Yeah.
what's your idea on that?
So, okay. I recently got introduced. to human design about 6 months ago. And I am learning the different types, but I am in no way, shape, or form an expert. But what I have discovered so far in human design, for those who may not know, is like, look it up. It's fascinating, first of all. And Lemisky, I think you know a lot more about human design than I do, but human design is kind of like your energetic blueprint, let's say. And so, depending on, and this, and even if you don't agree with this sort of like philosophy or some of this like deeper energetic work, ultimately, we all are very unique. We all have different desires, different passions, different paths that we're on. And it's just about being in alignment with who we truly are, who we truly are to allow ourselves this opportunity to explore and get curious. And I think so often we struggle because we're indoctrinated in this very, like you had said earlier, this masculine society, or this like almost not even masculine, it's a wounded masculine, it's a wounded masculine energy. Yeah, it's the push and go and the shove and the grind and the hustle, and it's like, listen, like masculine and feminine energy is needed in this world, both of them, and both of them have a place in this world. And so it's about how can we step into this energy given the situation or the circumstances that we need. I'm going and I'm walking the dog, Lemisky, and this happens a lot. There was a reason why I shared this. Tell me the last part of your question again.
So I was asking, like, what are your thoughts on specific versus general
Okay, thank you.
manifestation? No problem.
Yes. So going back to that, I think so. I've discovered that I get better about being very specific about my manifestations, but that's not always the case. I would say, but more than half of the time, I do get very specific with my manifestations. Like, I want to reach this certain level of income this year, and it's a specific amount. I I also, though, when I was manifesting my dream home, I had specific things in mind, like the location, and that I wanted a trail in the back so that I could ride bikes with my daughter down to the park, and that it would be close to a park. But where, and like specifically like the amount of bedrooms, that didn't quite matter to me. I think where it goes back is, what is it like, what feels good to you, what feels good to you. And so you might find, you're walking down the street or you're having a deep thought in the car that you're like, oh, you know what, I actually do want 10 new clients, as opposed to bring in my soulmate clients. I think you can work and you can play with this, like play with it some, get creative. I think so often, going back to that wounded masculine energy, we get so stuck and so indoctrinated into it has to be a certain way, or it has to look this way. Let's like open it. Let's move from like that close up lens and bring it out into like a panoramic view, and allow some of that, like allow yourself to be inspired, allow yourself some of that creative energy to experiment and explore. Because what happens is, in manifesting, when you do say like, I want this certain amount of money, the how and the when are really not up to us. We can be specific, or we can say, I want $100,000 or I want to earn six figures. I'm happy with either one. It could be $200,000. If you're not specific, it could be $200,000. But if you're specific, you say 150, 100 to 150. But what you'll discover is that when you allow yourself to take a step back and to just like clear out some of this space, which I talk about, like energetic clutter, decluttering, allowing the space to allow the universe to work its magic and its mystery, you find these opportunities and you meet these people that you never would have expected. And you end up being like, you find yourself being in the right time and in the right place. And you're like, wow, my manifestation is happening right now. And I never even expected it. So I will say too, being completely candid, there are times where I will cling on to or hook on to, it's got to look this way. It's got to look this way. And when I find myself getting to that, it's a grasping energy, it's a controlling energy. I'm like, okay, take a step back. Like, let's expand this space a little bit more. Let's expand the container and trust a little bit more. that the universe knows exactly what it's doing and it has the exact best plan for me, for you, and for everyone else who has big dreams and big desires.
Right. Yeah, I can relate to that. So, oh, I had so many ideas while you were saying that. So you were talking about the different, like a more global idea, and I think this is where self-awareness comes in, because it's like you can want something, like you said in the beginning, out of that masculine, like, or that desperation type of energy. And I feel that sometimes if I'm not clear on what I want, why do I really want it? You know? And
Exactly.
so that clarity comes once you work through and journal through, like, the five whys. Like, why do I want this? And then why do I want it that way? And then why like that, you know? And you really dig down and you're able to really understand why you want this to be this. Have you ever manifested something that was bigger than you anticipated?
Absolutely. 100%. Yes. And that was 15 years ago when I was like, universe, I want this promotion. And to be honest, I was 24, 25, maybe. I mean, I was still a baby and it was a lot of responsibility. Like I was in over my head. I was in over my head. I was not prepared to lead a team, to have a membership, run a membership organization of 150 plus clients. You know, I mean, I could have done it had I been doing that inner work beforehand. Now I do that. I'm a practicing part-time registered nurse. I'm a charge nurse. I run and lead like multiple emergencies and life or death situations now. But like 10 years ago, would I have been able to do that? Not at all. Not at all. And I think that's where, like, this is why it is important to step back and create space, because we all have to just be able and be willing to compassionately meet ourselves where we're at right here, right now.
Mm,
And that isn't how it's always going to be, but taking on this almost beginner mindset or this happy learner mindset or mentality of, it's not where I want to be now, but I see in the horizon where I can be and where I will be, and I'm going to head in that direction. And then and I have so many ideas and tips and tricks I could share. I might go off on another tangent and walk the dog again, but I will say this, like, we compassionately need to meet ourselves where we're at, be patient with ourselves. And then we so often underestimate the power of 1% change every day. We so often underestimate the power of consistency every day. So just something as simple as drinking water and hydrating, because going back to intuition, taking care of these physical bodies right here, right now is absolutely going to strengthen your intuition. And we have to take care of those basic needs. So I think so often we get, and this is because of the society, I think absolutely this would be more of that toxic energy of go after it, get it. And then after a week when it's not here, you're like, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? And then so it's just it's a steady evolution. But what you find when you do this is, instead of these big waves where you're elevating and then going down and elevating and going down, I think you can resonate with this and testify to this too, Lemiski, is that as you do this work, your elevation, it's an incremental elevation, and you never go back down again. You never go back down.
one
You
way.
go up, you might plateau a little bit, you go back up, but you always walk on what was previously your glass ceiling is now your floor as you reach another ceiling to
Mm.
break. Yes,
Yes.
that is
Yeah.
true level.
That is true up leveling, because the process, I know for me, the process for me, like, there's no going back. I've worked with
Yeah.
coaches and they'll observe me over a few weeks and they're like, once you set it out of your mouth, you can't go back, right? I was like, no, I can't. It's just,
Exactly.
what am I here for? Like, what are we doing? Like, we should always be advancing. I mean, if that's your goal, if that's your thing, you know. If it's not, I don't know why you're on this podcast. But if that's your thing, you're always trust that if you hit that point, that you can go above it. And I
Yes.
have this idea when I manifest, or even when things go wrong, right? I have this idea, like when it comes to, because I want to kind of get juicy and kind of get some
Yeah.
tips on manifesting
Yeah.
love,
Of
because I know
course. Of
people want to
course.
hear about that. But for me, I've met a lot of people. I've enjoyed the company of some beautiful, beautiful men. And then when it doesn't work out, this wasn't always like this though.
Yeah.
This is just a lot of plateauing and stepping up and ceilings, walking on ceilings. But I have this belief, and this is how free this can be with our beliefs. You get to choose what you believe.
Yes.
Nobody gets to tell you what to believe. Nobody gets to put a limitation on you. So when I meet a guy and he has some qualities that I like, he might have some qualities I don't.
Mhm.
I I have this sincere belief, and this works out in my life, that if I could meet him, I could meet someone better, and it always gets better.
Yes.
That is my,
Yes.
and it
Yes.
works
Yes.
that way. It works
Yes.
that now. It works in different areas now, so hopefully it'll all get better together. But
Yes.
yes, that is a sincere belief that I had to create in my late 20s, when I had to walk away from a great guy, but he was toxic in ways that were covert, that I couldn't put my finger on, but I thought I wanted him. I thought I wanted him so bad, and I
Yes.
said, "Okay, this is something greater." And then that, as I've been nailing that every single time. And so when it comes to manifesting love, like, give us some tips, give us some
I
ideas.
Okay, you hit the nail on the head though, because I think talking about the 1%, talking about the consistency, talking about what I had just shared, we as women, and I get it because I was there too. I get it. I get it. I get it. We get down on ourselves and beat ourselves up too easily and don't give ourselves enough credit for all the progress that we've made. I was just recently visiting a place to do another podcast a few weeks ago. And I remembered that I was in that same place a few years before, but at a much lower level in my life. And then I realized, wow, here I am. I have attracted all these beautiful things in my life. I've attracted a wonderful man who cares about me, healthy, masculine man who is passionate and romantic. And I was like, that's immense progress right there. And what you just said about it keeps getting better, that right there is an indicator that it is getting better 100%. And my biggest takeaway, first of all, is celebrate this stuff. Celebrate it,
Yes.
celebrate it, celebrate it, celebrate it. Going back to that autopilot, because if we don't celebrate it, what we do is we just bypass that. Let's talk about divine feminine energy. Divine feminine energy is the energy that your soulmate will meet you in and be attracted to. The divine feminine energy is the energy that you need to be in order to find and meet your soulmate, a healthy, masculine, emotionally available man. Okay, because you want him to be in your divine masculine, you want him to be in his divine masculine. So if you come in a toxic, wounded feminine energy, or a toxic, wounded masculine energy, or even a masculine energy, sometimes or most of the time, they're not going to be attracted to that. Divine feminine energy at its essence is a very receptive energy. It's about allowing ourselves to receive. It's about allowing ourselves to receive compliments, gifts in any way, shape, or form. I'm not just talking about the physical, tangible gifts, but yes, that is included too. I'm talking about the celebrations, allowing yourself to receive the progress that you've made, allowing yourself to recognize and allow yourself to relish and almost swim in the beautiful waters of your progress and your amazing achievements. And I say achievements and not like that sense that we had talked about career wise, because that's huge stuff right there. that we often will bypass and overlook. And so it's really important for us to be able to, because let's be honest, like I just worked with a client who is working on this right now, and she's with someone who, he said, you don't know how to take compliments very well. You deflect those compliments. So I would say one tip is, how are you as women, how are we receiving compliments when we're given them? Do we deflect? Do we bypass? Do we deny it and stop it, or say, stop, please? What thoughts go through your head when you receive a compliment? I don't believe it. This person's blowing smoke up my booty. Like, what thoughts are going? And start there. Like, start there, because this is the fun work. Like, this is the creative work. This is the juicy work that we get to play with, because like I said, when we meet our soulmate, he wants us in our divine feminine, and we want him in his divine masculine. And so I loved what you said, because the first thing I noticed before I met the person who I'm with right now is that the caliber of men that I was dating was much better. It was higher. I was being treated like a queen. I was treated with respect. And none of it was heartbreaking. None of it was any of this like need to manipulate or control. It was what it was. We had clear communication. We were on each other's level. And when it was time to say our goodbyes, it was time to say our goodbyes. You find yourself, you start to cycle upward, and you find yourself being able to have less tolerance for the bullshit and the drama and the manipulation and the control, and more of the, like, this is like this is a non-negotiable, like these qualities of communication and respect
Yes.
and being heard are just a non-negotiable. And to me, that took a while to get there, because I had to go through and kiss a lot of frogs first.
Yeah. Girl, you've been
Yeah.
kissing reptiles for years around here, okay?
No more kissing
No
reptiles.
more, no more
Not
kissing
worth
reptiles.
it.
It's
Not worth it.
not.
And let me,
But they were part of the lessons
they
though.
were,
They
they
were.
were.
And I
You
thank them for that energy.
you shared something with me when we talked for the first time, which has resonated with me for the last few weeks, which is that sometimes people have to go through things like you and I were talking, that were, I don't know if you are a manifesting generator,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Yeah. That we have to go through some of that stuff. I mean, I'm 37 years old. So for a lot of people, I could be considered a late bloomer, which I don't like that word, because I think we're like, life is an evolution, life is cyclical. And late bloomer implies like shame and you're lagging
Yeah,
behind. I don't like that
expectation.
expectation. I don't like that. But, in like kind of like a way to understand it, I've always like, I'm 37, right? So some people could say, wow, like you're 37, you're almost 40, what, you're just figuring this out? Well, yeah, we're always growing, like you had shared. But I love what you said a few weeks ago, which is sometimes you have to go through that stuff. You have to go through some of that contrast in life in order to discover what it is that you truly want. Now, with that said, I'm not saying, don't bend and break your boundaries to be with a toxic, unhealthy man. Don't do any sort of abuse of any kind is a like not acceptable whatsoever, like zero tolerance for that. But there are sometimes, when that stuff is not a part or on the table, sometimes you do need to just kind of walk the path a little bit, and to get a clearer picture of what it truly is that you want. Because I do work with women, and this was me too for a very long time. I really didn't know what I wanted in a man
Yes.
and out of life. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, coming from um a lot of women can come from a background of never really seeing
Yes.
a high caliber man in the way that he's treating the person that or being around high caliber relationships at that. And so I remember I was asking someone for advice, and I said, well, how do you know what you want? And that person said, you just know what you don't want. And
Yep.
so I had a big ass list of what I didn't want. But then with work, that shift happened, like you said, and I started dating men of a different caliber. And it's just like you realize the higher the caliber of man, the less you feel the need to do. And
Yes.
the less you feel the need to do, the higher the caliber of the man,
And
right?
that's your divine feminine right there. It
That's
is
your
an
exactly.
attractive magnetic energy. Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
So I want to encourage women as well to pay attention. So we talk about caliber of men, right? For
Mhm.
me, a caliber of man, um, is there's a level of self-sufficiency. Like people always want to talk about women, and yes, money matters. There needs to be some
Yeah,
self-sufficiency, and there needs to be enough surplus to support me and my needs as well if we're looking to partner for long term.
totally.
But also energetic caliber,
Mhm.
because he can be a high caliber mass, like when I say this in this phrase, the masculine exterior, right? He's got maybe the achievements, he's got the car, he's got the finances or whatever, but what's that energy hitting for, you know? And so
Mhm.
that's how you really have to discover what the caliber of that man is. Because I've met men on the outside that were high caliber,
Yeah.
but when something didn't go the way he wanted and that shaming language came out, no, honey,
Yep.
non negotiable. We're not doing that over here. Because
Yep.
I'm able to clearly communicate with you, I expect the same. And so that's where I think our level of awareness comes in. Do you have anything to add to that whole caliber energetics
Oh,
thing?
I am so grateful that you said that, and that you mentioned that, because you're absolutely right. It can be a high caliber man, and but how are you being treated? How are you safe to speak your truth in when you deliver it in a very loving way? Are you, or in a non-blaming or pointing fingers way? Are you feeling heard? Are you feeling seen? Are you feeling cherished? Are you feeling respected? Are your opinions and your energy and your insights, is there space, in the relationship to bring those to the table?
Mm-hmm.
That's all stuff to ask yourself when because yes, that's the energy component. That's the energy component.
Yep. Yeah. And I think that's a whole level. That's a whole nother podcast episode on just navigating the energetics of these connections. It's not about power, because people can be very rudimentary in the way that they hear and want to think of things. So when I say power dynamics, people think that I want to be, they probably think dominatrix or some shit. And
Sure.
I mess with that too, but it's okay. Um, but it's a matter of really being secure in your power as a woman and knowing who the F you are. That is
Yes.
where the power of dating comes in. The power of all of our relationships is about the place that we hold for ourselves. And so it is imperative that women understand the difference between a high caliber exterior and a high caliber interior, because that interior may not be super high caliber on the exterior, but he can bring a something to your life that can enhance your energy as well. So, and also women, don't be afraid to be a boss, to be masculine when it calls for it,
Mhm.
and being able to switch back into that feminine
Yeah.
to receive, because we even have to do that with our business and our money. We got to
Mhm.
figure out the how. We got to get the marketing, we got to get the copywriting, we got to get the design, we got to get the website. But then we got to sit back and allow ourselves to receive the clients, to receive the energy that we've already sown the seed for.
Mhm.
So, uh so okay, one last question, because I know we've really got to
Yes.
go. But do you utilize visualization in manifesting, or is it just journaling, or like what's your stance on visualizing?
I love it. I love it. I love it. So funny that you asked this question, because I just last week was like, I'm going to start a vision board again. The reason, and I believe I shared this with you. I don't often use vision boards. I do mostly journaling. I do mostly sitting and just kind of going on these rampages of I have it already. And that's how I cultivate feelings of that being the energetic match to what it is that I desire. But sometimes I am human too, and I need like that creative inspiration. And I feel myself being drawn to creating a vision board again. I don't often encourage it as like the mainstay or as the source because it can be like it. I think with mainstream media right now, it's more than just vision boards. It's more than smudging and crystals. All of that has its place if that vibes with you, if that resonates with you. It is that inner work, though. It is absolutely that inner work. But I'm finding myself needing to balance some of this deeper work that I'm working through on my next level of manifestations with a vision board. And so if you feel called to do that, absolutely 100% do it. But it's just that same question that we had talked about is like asking yourself, are you doing it because you feel like you should do it because it's a thing to check off a checklist? Or are you doing it because you truly feel like when you wake up in the morning, it's going to inspire you and get you really excited and motivated to do what it is that you need to do, take the action, and also step back and receive to get to where you want to go. So it's always deep. It's always just asking yourself, but simply, it doesn't need to be hard. You don't need to spend hours thinking like, is this it or is this it? But for me right now, yes, I'm in this mode right now where I'm like, I need and I want that vision board for me to wake up in the morning and be like, yes, this is why I'm doing this. But for a while, for the last few years, I actually haven't made a vision board. So yeah, it's like I said, asking yourself, is it something you're checking off a checklist to say you did it and it's done? Because there's not so much magic behind that. But if it really lights you up to make one, then by all means do it. Go for
For
it.
sure, for sure.
Yeah.
There are there's some. I come from the old Neville Goddard visualizing,
Yes.
where you
Yes.
literally sit and you create a mind movie and you just
Yes.
watch it for like 3 minutes, and
A
you do
lot
that a
too.
couple times a day, and
Yes.
that has been very powerful for me.
Mhm.
Another thing that I do is, yeah, we're busy. Yeah, we've got a lot of stuff going on. Maybe I don't always have enough going on. So sometimes negative thoughts can seep in, or that low vibe, like this ain't gonna happen. Like, who am I to think about, So what
Mhm.
I do is there are some apps where you can gather
Yeah.
some photos of some things on your phone because we've always got our phone glued to our hand, right? So what I do is when I feel my vibe dropping a little bit, I'll just go into that app and I'll just start looking at
Beautiful.
those pictures and reminding myself like, okay, like raise that vibe, stop thinking negative, get out of don't ruminate on that argument that happened 18 years ago that you never did get the word in, because
Mhm.
that's our subconscious wanting to tug at us. And of course we work through those things through meditation and releasing and journaling, but we're
Mhm.
human, things pop up, and most times as you're getting to your next level those types of things pop up.
Yeah.
And it's not a reflection of you, it's just a reflection of your human brain thinking that it's protecting you. So I just want the audience to know, like, when we start to get that dip, you've got to have these tools available to just visually remind yourself, or have an audio that you pop in, or a special song
I was gonna
that
say
the
music.
words mean something more about your manifestation or your dream or where you're going, and turn those things on when your vibe starts to drop a little bit,
Yeah.
because this manifesting thing is not about being perfect, but
Mhm.
like you said, that 1% every day, it's about being consistent. And if you get one day where that vibe drops, it's easier to get that second day, and then that
Yeah.
third, and then it's a week, and then it's a month. So
Absolutely.
yeah, you have anything else to add to that?
I love that. I was going to say music is also a really great way. So I have a playlist. It's actually called High Vibrations, and I put like my anthems on there. Any music that inspires me gets me like back into that energetic flow. And then one other thing is just choosing to see things differently. I actually got this from someone named Gabrielle Bernstein.
Mm-hmm.
Is just forgiving your acknowledging the thought that you had, and then forgiving yourself for that thought, and then reframing, just reframing. I would say if there was one number one coping mechanism on top of the music, the visuals, and what you just shared, would be is to choose again, to just continue to choose again. And that can be as simple as, oh, okay, I had that thought that this will never happen, but I know that every time that I set my mind to achieve something, I always accomplish it. So I know that I'm going to be able to accomplish this too. I'm going to accomplish this with a happy heart so that when I do actually receive it, I'm happy. Already happy. I'm happy now. So
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah, I would say that combined, and you have a clear path for you then, a clear path.
Yeah, for sure. Wow. Man, I
Mm,
love this conversation. I
likewise.
loved having you here. Thank you so much for your time and your energy and your expertise, you wild woman. So tell us about your offerings and where we can find you online.
Sure. Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram. I'm very active there. So my Instagram handle is I am Jenn Adamson. It's JennAdamson. And you go there, click on the link in my bio. It will give you access to my free Facebook group for free support. I just launched my ebook, Five
Yay.
Secrets to Manifesting Anything with Ease. So go ahead and download that there. And then I have a free abundance meditation as well. And for any of the ladies out there who just want to take it further, I have a very beautiful sacred container of women. It's called the Wild Soul Sisterhood. And these ladies, it's a group coaching, and these ladies are manifesting things so quickly and so beautifully and so in alignment to who they truly are, that they're just unstoppable forces right now. They just keep attracting amazing higher level things in this container. So if that's of interest, you can also reach out to me there on Instagram.
Awesome. Well, thank you
Mm,
so much. I'll
thank
have your
you,
links and
Lindsay.
everything in the show notes.
Mm,
That felt good.
this did feel good. I am like all throughout my day now. Thank you.
Exactly. Yes. Let's go outside and play now.
Yes, exactly.
All right.
Thank you,
Thank you so
girl.
much,
Mwah.
Jen. I'll talk to you soon. Be well.
Sounds good.
All
You
right.
too.
Bye.
Bye.
All right.